We are in the midst of a data revolution, an explosion in the volume of data, the speed with which data are produced, the number of producers of data, the dissemination of data, and the range of things on which there is data. The data revolution has implications to governance. First, it can improve service delivery. Second, it can lead to more effective public management, an increase in the accountability of governments and public officials, as well as enhance public participation. The data revolution is partly a result of the technology revolution. So increasing computer power, lower storage cost, faster broadband connections, inexpensive sensors, and pervasive mobile phones has increased the amount of data that is available. The immediate consequence of this is that we have moved from being information consumers to information producers. For instance, we used to watch TV, listen to radio, and read newspapers. In a way, all passive activities. But today, we tweet, we post photos, we Google, and we send spam and email. As a matter of fact, in 2016, there were about 600 new page edits on Wikipedia every minute. At the same time that we've become information producers, humans are not the only ones who produce data. In 2017, over 20 billion devices were connected to the internet. By 2020, that number expected to grow to 31 billion. And by 2025, about 75 billion internet-connected devices, which means devices are sending information to each other without human intervention. For instance, by 2025, it is expected that there will be one interaction with a device every 18 seconds per every individual. Every 18 seconds, we will interact with a device. This we know as the Internet of Things, right? Internet-connected devices without human intervention. We could also look at the digital revolution from the lens of digitization, digitalization, digital transformation, and datafication. Digitization is the process of converting analog into digital. So for instance, nobody sends snail mail anymore. We all use email. We don't have records or CDs. We have MP3s. And road maps are no longer used because we all rely on GPS. On the other hand, digitalization is turning interactions, communications, business functions, and business models into digital ones. It is also defined as the integration of digital technology into everyday life. Digitalization can help increase efficiency, transparency, and improve public services. So much so that in a study of U.S. federal officials, 82% of them are planning digitalization projects. Projects such as interagency collaboration, benefits tracking, and benefits application. The third development is called digital transformation. You can see this as a progression from digitization, digitalization, to digital transformation. Digital transformation is the use of digital technology in all aspects of an enterprise to fundamentally change how it creates and delivers value. So for instance, instead of simply changing some governmental process, we could imagine government as being completely transformed as a consequence of digital transformation. So we will now have more transaction and payment services online. We can now expect that digital services are also available in mobile devices, and that the functionality and user experience of government online services would be greatly enhanced with digital transformation. The fourth development is called datafication. Datafication turns previously invisible processes or activities into data that can be monitored, tracked, analyzed, and optimized. To datafy is to render into data many aspects of the world that has never been quantified before. A good example would be emotions. It used to be very hard to track people's emotions and study them. Today, it's a lot easier to do so thanks to social media. So in Facebook, we could react by showing that we're happy through the thumbs up, through wow, through angry. So with this, every time you click on an icon, your emotion is recorded and that somebody in Facebook studies them. So something which used to be very hard to study is now easy to study as a consequence of datafication. Now, what is interesting about datafication is not only that we are able to study more things that used to be hard to study, is that it is also driving the use of algorithms for decision making. So many decisions now, judgments and forecasts, are not made by humans, but are made by computers. This is directly a consequence of datafication. But the the data revolution is also a social revolution. It not only makes available huge amounts of data, but it also has profound consequence on our lives. We've already seen that it has important economic consequences. It provides new economic freedoms and new economic opportunities. At the same time, however, it also means greater surveillance. This brings to rise the concept of data justice, the fairness in the way people are made visible, represented, and treated as a result of their production of digital data. So take, for instance, Facebook. The business model of Facebook is that we will not pay them cash to use the network, the social network, but they will use our personal data and our personal information and sell them to advertisers. So in some sense, is that a fair transaction? Our personal information for access to a social network. There are other issues related to datafication, in the sense that more people are now under surveillance than before. What do we mean by this? To the extent that you have mobile phones, smartphones, those smartphones are constantly tracking our behavior and sending data to Google or to Apple if you have an Android or an iPhone. So there was a study last year that says even when you're not using your phone, even if it's on idle, it is on, but it's just on a table, no transaction whatsoever, that phone is still reporting to Google your location. Now, is that, again, a fair deal, right? Did they ask us whether, if they could do that? Most of you who use Gmail, you will notice that recently they have suggestions on how you respond to your email, to the email that you receive. And it's not just the generic thank you, or I'll get back to you, or noted, the response that they are proposing is actually tailor-fitted to the email that you got. Now, this is very convenient, but the problem is it meant that they read your email, or at least a machine did. So much so that they know the content so that they will know how to respond. Again, the question is, did Gmail ask you if they could read your email? And is it okay for them to do so in exchange for the convenience of simply clicking one of the recommended replies? So data justice believes that data can support existing power asymmetries or enable greater distributive justice through making the poor visible. In a way, you can think of data justice like the digital divide. The internet and ICT has created new opportunities, but those opportunities are not evenly distributed. Not everyone can harness the power of the internet. Not everyone has a smartphone. So for instance, only about 40% of the global population has access to smartphones. What happens to the rest? So the same is true with data justice. We have more data about certain populations than others, and therefore better services are given to those who exchange data, their personal information, for better services. So at the end of the day, if we think about the data revolution, we should not only think about how wonderful it is that we have access to all of this information and how it's transforming the economy, businesses, and how it can potentially transform government and the way we decide about our collective future. We should also think that this is not widely spread and not everybody has the same access to these wonderful things. What about those who are not seen? What about those who are not represented in the data revolution and the profound transformations that it is enabling?